What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a bit of a different kind of video going on. We're gonna be breaking down my matches from the recent Charlotte IBJJF Open. Did pretty good, I got third, ended up going 1-1 in my 8-man bracket. Got the sub in the first round, and then sadly got beat in the semifinals. But that's why we're here to break it all down. And I even got, look, we getting fancy, okay? I even got the straight up telestrator, like I'm Daniel Cormier. Look at that. Look at that. So we're gonna be breaking it down pretty well today. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the first match here. So this is against a guy from G13 Jiu-Jitsu. Pretty short match. Was able to get the sub in under 2 minutes. Okay, and had a bit of a height advantage on this guy. So that was pretty nice. He came out immediately in a very low stance, and there's a few guys in G13 that do this like long split stance. So and he's staying real low to the ground, so it makes it really hard. As you can see there, I try to hit him with my inside trip. All right, and he does a good job of getting that foot out of the way, and it's really hard to even get inside because his hips are so far back. And I got my grips as I was coming in, but one thing that would have been nice is if he perfectly does the reaction that I want to see. He brings this arm back and leaves this leg here. Usually I want to go for either posting this foot here behind his, so like this foot here would then replace behind this foot, so that way it can act as like a post so it doesn't retreat, and I can drop my level down and grab that for like an ankle pick and do a single leg or something. But something that I did not do was like chain that takedown together. So he keeps his hips back. I try to go in. Doesn't work with that first inside trip. I'm trying to break his grip here. When I tried to break his grip, it actually was just not coming off. Look at that. It's like, I'm like, okay, this man's gripping with his entire life. Gotcha. So that kind of indicates to me that he's a bit nervous. Like when someone's gripping that hard, that means they're using a ton of energy in that moment. So I could tell this man was a little tense. It's no roast or no shame on him or nothing. I think that's a normal thing to have sometimes. But as you can see, I couldn't break the grip, and I see that I find out his intention right here as to why he hadn't pulled guard yet or done anything. He wants to go for the takedown. So you can see him feint a little bit of a single leg there. I easily pull my hand back. I'm keeping my distance, and I go immediately into the De La Riva guard pull. Immediately off balance, go under, and the ref stops us, sadly, because we go off the mat. But this was an amazing sequence, okay? So something I really love to do with the De La Riva guard pull is if I'm going to go for a bolo, I don't do it here. I do sleeve on sleeve, which I don't mind either, because that also like really off balances them and messes up their posture. But usually what I'll do is I'll have right hand on left, like on the same side collar as my De La Riva hook here, and then I'll switch this left hand here to the ankle grip is usually what I'll do. And that way, as I'm going around, I'm like rolling into it. I'm like shifting all my weight around, so that way the De La Riva is naturally going into like the bolo back take series. As you can see, that momentum shifts myself all the way around. I continue, I put that foot across his torso and make sure he goes all the way over, and I keep a grip of the leg here, and I would have came up and then drove through to get him flat, but we went out of bounds. So we have to reset neutral since it was in the middle of an action. Neutral, so we fist bump again. He stays low. He still wants to get to my legs. You can tell he wants to get in on a takedown. He's not thinking about guard pulling. Fighting the hands here, trying to get my grips. He goes in for the far side single. We tie up in the over under here, and you can't see off screen. This is interesting. This is a good little tip for rules. So if you're a guard puller, don't do what I do here. If you're going to tie up and you're going to guard pull, don't do what I did. So at first I thought he gets points here because I pull full guard and he gets 2 points. I'm thinking it's because like he went for a takedown, maybe he touched my leg and it was like a single leg, but it's actually because of what I did. I hooked my leg behind his leg because I'm thinking, okay, this dude's really tense. Let me see if I can take him down in this over under. But when I felt how like kind of solid he was and I was at the edge of the mat, and I couldn't really take him backwards, I'm like, I can just pull to my full guard. Let me just go ahead and go straight to my best weapon and go to my best guard. Let's go to full guard. So I pull down. But because I'm kind of initiating a takedown here, I kind of can see this top position. Anytime you're guard pulling and anyone and then like some sort of takedown sequence is happening, the guard puller is going to lose that situation, the other guy's going to get 2 points. So that's what happens here. I pull full guard, ref resets us, and he gets 2 points. Now, this is another secret move, all right, that you need to bust out. All right, and this is called seducing your opponent. All right, so after we reset to the mat, I crawl on all fours. All right, all the way back to the middle. I didn't realize how goofy this looked until afterwards, and you don't see it, but off the mat, I immediately get an overhook on the opposite side arm. You can't see it in this frame, and I am like chest to chest with this dude. Like I have him grip. I got the hard overhook on the arm, and I'm gripping his lapel, so he can't like back out. So this is how we end up having to restart. Where we're chest to chest and he's just holding me in his lap. And at this moment, I'm whispering sweet nothings into his ear like, I promise when I choke you out, I'll be gentle. I'm kidding. I didn't say that. But it was an awkward position thinking back on it, but very advantageous for me. But also something to point out as well for the other guy. And this is kind of why I thought he was a bit nervous, because I feel like he was doing things he probably didn't do normally in the training room. Because in this position, if you're in full guard, you don't really want a hard posture up like this. You're giving them pretty much what I'm about to show here. You're giving them the opportunity to sweep you a little bit easier when you're postured up hard like this, especially when they got grip. So I try my hip bump sweep. He has very dynamic hips, very strong. He switches his hips, right? So you see it there. He's in trouble here, where, you know, hips are above his, and he is about to go down. I probably should have been a little bit lower, so that way I could bump a little bit more into him. I'm kind of off of him, but he does a good job of switching his hips back and then squaring back up with me. That was a good job by him to make sure he didn't get swept there. I still have, I let go of the overhook at this point, but then immediately, as I'm letting go of the overhook and he hard postures out, that's when I let one of my legs go to transition to the triangle. So we don't have a fully locked in triangle yet, but we got the process started here. So he tries to stand, and this is key here. This is how you keep them from trying to stand up out of the triangle. Because in this case, for this triangle in particular, actually, no, this far leg isn't even the leg I'd want to touch to like start to like get the angle to finish the triangle. It'd actually be the other leg. But even still, you want to make them guess, because there still could be like a K-guard transition to this other leg. But I let him know, like, as soon as you stand up, like, hey, I want that leg. And so he gets right back down. So, like, give him, like, little looks like that so he can keep his posture down. Keep him thinking defensively the whole time. So here, he tries to posture up out of the triangle. And actually, this is the moment I start going for an arm bar. You don't see it, but his left arm here, his left arm is fully extended here. So he's got a full-length arm here. All right, we're back to it. So I go for the arm bar. He starts to go, he now thinks, because I'm starting to go belly down with it, he needs to hop over so that way he can get his elbow off the fulcrum, which he does a good job doing. He comes over, and usually in this position, you want to give up like the sweep. You want to give up the sweep to kind of get ahead of the arm bar, because it's so in at this point, you kind of have to give up position so that way they don't get the submission. So he's making a good move here, because you can see here, go a little bit farther. Actually, let me back up a bit. Like here, his elbow is like coming off the fulcrum. It's more on the side of my thigh now rather than on my hips, which you can still finish, but it's harder. And like his elbow's like now here, like it's not even against my thigh. So I do this sneaky little trick. Watch my left leg here. Bloop. And I immediately pull it out and then brace my quad behind his head to switch back to the triangle as he's trying to escape out of it. Then we end up back in a full guard triangle like position. And so I have his posture broken even more now. I'm one step away from fully locking in the triangle. Okay, so right now, sometimes whenever you make that transition, you can get like the wrong side lock on the triangle. I didn't quite hit it, but it's still good because I got my quad behind his head. I got this trap in his shoulder here, so he still can't get out, but he'll have a moment to maybe escape when I'm making this transition here. But I do a really good job of immediately when I'm making this switch, grabbing my shin. So he's not going to be able to like use that, use his muscle to like come out of it with like just my leg. I got the arm supporting it as well. Always want to do that. And then you get that foot right behind the knee. All right. And from here, I'm not thinking about trying to finish from here. You don't want to try and squeeze to finish a triangle from the middle if you can help it. You want to underhook the far side leg that you don't see on screen. Okay, I'm going to cut the angle. You see now my body is now perpendicular to his. That way, when the triangle finishes, instead of like if I were in the middle, you'd be squeezing your thighs together and his head, pulling his head down. So the choke would be collapsing in like this. Whereas once you cut the angle, you're closing the triangle like a pair of scissors, which is much stronger way to finish. And you're also pulling the head down. So we get the tap here. We let it go. We say congratulations to our man. G13's a great gym. You know, he was a good opponent. I think he just made some mistakes that he'll improve on next time. He was the second number 2 seed, so I was able to knock out the number 2 seed. So that was pretty awesome. Good match here for sure. And I even I talked to the ref afterwards because I was like, so how did he get like the 2 points from the takedown? Because I had to like I learned new things about the rules every time I compete. It's very complicated. It's very complicated to be a ref for sure. Also, shout out to my coach Alex right here in the white. What a goat. All right. So something I noted for positive notes, I had constant forward pressure. I think that's really good for keeping your opponent back foot, keeping them thinking defensively. Go for attacks when you see them. If you see them extending an arm, shoot that arm bar. You know, if you see it open, go for it, because if you're being offensive, that means your opponent is having to be defensive. I had a fast, decisive guard pull. Both of my guard pulls were straight into like a purpose. Like for my full guard one, I was getting the overhook on the arm and grabbing the lapel to start setting up different attacks. And for the De La Hiva one in the beginning that we went off the mat, I was going straight into the sweep, and it was that was a beautiful little De La Hiva sweep. I wish I would have been in the mat for that, because that would have been nasty. Chaining attacks together as he's escaping the armbar. I'm switching back to the triangle. All right, we're going triangle, armbar, back to triangle. Okay, always want to be able to chain your attacks together and keeping the opponent on the defensive. Some improvement notes, which I think are going to carry over from both matches. Positional awareness on the map. So, and I learned this from my next opponent too. He was much better in this regard. There are so many things with the rule set and points that you have to be aware of. Like if you're in, I'll explain in the next match, but like for my sweep from De La Hiva, for example, it didn't count and I lost it because I wasn't aware of I was on the edge of the mat and I was trying to sweep him and it didn't even mean anything. And I had used all that energy and that work for nothing. So I used a really aggressive guard pull, used that energy, and it didn't get me nothing because I pulled it from a very weird spot on the mat. So try to keep your stuff as away from the edges as you can. And then again, chain together my takedown attempts. My inside trip entries looked really good for both my matches. They got my opponents reacting. It's just I never chained it to the next thing because I feel like I maybe just didn't feel confidence in it in that moment. And I knew my guard was going to be working really well today. So I just need to have a bit more confidence in that stand-up, because if you can get top position before your opponent, you should opt for that rather than guard pulling if you can. Okay, so next we got my second match. And some context for this match is this is my first ever rematch with an opponent. I actually faced this guy in Charlotte last year, and last year I won off an advantage. We had a super close competitive match. He used a lot of the same tools he used in this match. I ended up sprawling on his takedown, getting a headlock, cradle, and working top position, going for my own guard passes and things like that. Ended up with an advantage ahead of him. I don't even think possibly points may not even have been scored in that. And then eventually we stood up. I saw I was ahead on the scores, like short time left, 30, 45 seconds. And then I guard pulled, worked my guard for a bit, almost armbarred him. But I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to try and take him down and possibly get stuffed, and then he gets a dominant position. And I would rather get a really, really good guard in front of him that he has to work to pass in short time. That way I can keep my points, but I'm still working. I'm not like stalling or nothing. So that's how I won the first match. So this is how the second match went. So again, this is my first rematch. When I was going in today, I didn't even realize I recognized the name, but I didn't realize it was the same guy, because sometimes you just see the same names pop up. So it's something I just didn't prepare for. It was something I was not thinking about. And after my first match, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I planned for. This is what I was running through my head with. But then When you get a rematch and it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to face someone with the same style again, and it's gonna be a little different this time, and that starts putting thoughts in your head of what you want, what you start to expect. So you start almost like planning ahead, and that's not really a great plan always, because no match is going to be the same twice, even if it's with the same person. So I let that get to me a little bit, and it made me hesitate. So I noticed he's doing the same as before, staying low, really good wrestling stance. He's moving back, feigning his double legs. I'm being aggressive, moving forward. I go for my inside trip again, and yet again, like I make the same mistake of not chaining it together. Like I get a big reaction. I get a good entry in. I hook behind the leg. I actually make it in there. He has to pull his leg out. This again is the same thing. I could go for the single here. I just don't, and it's just hesitation, not believing in the sequence when I obviously know how to do it. And in response to me doing it, he goes for the far side single. I sprawl beautifully and cut off the angle that he cuts. Really good sprawl here for me. Pull the hips out. I get the headlock. And then I realize in this moment, this match is going exactly the same as our first match. And that fucks me up for a second. Because I get this exact same headlock from him in our first match. And then I snap him down. And I'm like, oh my God, I was literally snapping this man down in our first match. And I remember what my other coach, Fernando, who was with me at the time, told me to grab his leg and cradle him in the first match. So I remember that in this moment and do the exact same thing. So I got the cradle here. But I'm also aware of how fast this guy is. So I hesitate here on the back take. I should have immediately gone to put a hook in. Like, as soon as I grab this leg and collapse him, I should be look at this big opening on this side. I should immediately be going to like throw my leg over and get a hook in, like without a doubt. But I was aware of his speed because I had faced him before. I know he's very wily, and I just hesitated. I wasn't confident in it, and that's just not how you should be operating during a match. You should be pretty confident in what you want to do, especially since I know I got decent back takes. So I keep controlling the back here, more so just like controlling the back, collapsing him down, just like mat returning him, and just staying turtle on the back. And this is where mat awareness comes in. So I feel like I'm doing a good job here because I'm like, oh, he tries to roll through and roll out of the back take, but I stick with him. But I realize his goal was to get off the mat because this is technically what's called a neutral position. So when they reset you, they're going to reset us standing up. And that's rough because I had dominant position there. Like back take was coming. I was just going really slow with it and not trying to rush it, but I didn't realize. I forget, man. Like there's neutral positions, and if you go off the mat and they restart, they're gonna stand you back up. I mean, you have to have a legitimate named guard for it to be reset. But that does give me an advantage point for that. So we got that. So we're back to it. I understand what he wants now. I know he wants the double leg or the single leg. So I'm back to kind of finding my entry in, and I'm kind of debating in my head, should I just go ahead and guard pull? I think at this point I am thinking I should guard pull. I think I go for one more inside trip attempt here, but he's doing a good job feinting, pulling out, pulling back in. And this is where I make my second mistake. He's still feinting. I go for my angle again, and that's it. That's where I make my mistake. And I had tried to remind myself, Troy, you can't do this anymore. You cannot do this anymore. And I let my frustration get... Oh, dang. Come on now, PowerPoint. So, what I did, or what I told myself to stop doing, is I got frustrated because he's backing up a ton. He's not backing up the whole time. He's definitely feinting, coming in and out. But in this moment, I get frustrated at his constant moving backwards. And I posture up hard. I just stand up straight out of frustration a bit. And this is, look how primed he is, ready to go. He's ready to shoot in on this at the moment I make this mistake. And I was so mad at myself. I even get the down block. I get my hands in between, but I didn't pull my hips out. And so he gets in on the single. I get one leg out, but he gets the other one in there. But... the thing is, similar to how I had his back earlier, he takes me down off the mat, so I'm immediately trying to recover off, but he shoots off the mat and he didn't fully have the takedown, and so he's only going to get an advantage for that. Similar to wrestling, like pushing someone off the mat, you get like a point for that, but here it's an advantage. So we're back to it. I understand, okay, it's takedowns now. I need to just go ahead and guard pull because this all this dude's going to go for. And it worked decent last time at the end of our first match, so I'm like, okay, so I should be able to guard pull and work him pretty good here. So again, I go for a similar one, but this time I try to put my both legs under for a modified type of bolo, but he does a really good job pummeling his leg here. So he sits back and he pretty much just tries to make it to where I can't get under his hip. He's not panicking. He's doing a good job. And what he does here is he pummels this leg back out across my hip, so that way whenever I roll through, okay, he pulls that leg out, and I don't actually roll under his hips. He actually just gets this leg all the way out and through. I'm just back in De La Riva again. And this would have been a really good... I hate that he reset us here. Like, we're barely on the edge. It just stops the momentum so much. So I have to go back into regular De La Riva here. And this is kind of where I'm a little upset at myself. He does a good job. He puts one hand on my chest to kind of pull up and like stop a little bit of the leverage I have. But I try to off balance him right, left. He tries the knee cut, so I switch my hips off to the opposite side so he doesn't get that. I'm still holding on to the ankle. I tried to break his grip, but again, these people are gripping with their life. And I switched to a lasso here. He tries to back step out, but I got 2 feet on one arm, so it allows for a good guard recovery here to twist back in. I'm trying to grab the shin. He's trying to just kind of stuff my legs so I can't get out both of them in front of him. He probably knows I want a full guard here. I got one lasso. I got 1 foot on hip, and this is where I make my next mistake. I never usually do this, but I try to rush for the triangle. I'm like, at this point, I think my guard is just hot shit, and I get a little arrogant, and I think I could just like shoot a triangle from here, like from just a regular lasso. Not really any setup involved, just foot on hip. And I just try to like pull his head into the triangle, kind of forcing it, and failed that attempt there and just decided to go straight to full guard. Now here, I do a really good job of breaking his posture. I get the classic deep collar grip here, break his posture, and this is when the most depressing thing that can happen to a guard player happens here coming up. So he starts to stand up out of the guard, which is, smart. You should usually have a sleeve grip when you want to stand up out of someone's guard, but, no harm, no foul. And he's trying to stack me. I have a loose grip on the arm. I don't have like a hard grip. I'm more just like cupping the arm. I'm not actually gripping any fabric here. And I'm trying to pretty much just get like a sweep, like a little flower sweep here, where I'm just like off balancing them this way. But because I don't have a good grip on the arm, and I get a decent little underhook on the leg, like everything's looking great except for the grip on the arm, boom! That, you cannot let that happen. People just yank their arms out. And unless you're like dealing with like a Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez situation where Yair Rodriguez actually does have a good grip on the arm, and then you end up blowing your shoulder out because you pull so hard. I didn't have a good grip here. So he just does a good job of getting his arms out and posturing up. That was a really great job. When he feels that there's no tension there, he just pulls out, and like that's what you should be doing. So he tries to stack me, tries to throw the arms by. I still got the grip on the leg. I'm still re-guarding. I get half guard back. It's definitely not easy to pass my guard like that. I got good, decent re-guard. It's going to be the mistake I make later that lets him take advantage. So now we're in half guard. He doesn't quite have a cross face. I do get a hand back in front of the arm. And then we're back to it. So here he stands up in the half guard, which probably a good move. Probably don't want to be playing in close tight with someone with like long legs who can get a knee shield in really easily. Probably want to keep outside passing if he can. But he's having trouble here. And again, I rush the triangle a little too much. So as you can see here, my foot's like kind of trapped under his thigh here. And I clear one arm. He goes one in, one out here. So it's probably still a mistake on his part, but I'm not fully locked in. So I get one leg behind the shin. I got a grip on the arm. He tries to do the classic, this is like an old school triangle, say, where you put your feet in between. But really what helps him escape out of the triangle is him just using his hand to push the leg off of his head and get to the outside of it. So he just slips. You can see he uses his hand here, slip the leg off the head, gets his leg to the outside, and then he starts trying to go out around the outside again, which was very good. Yeah, outside passing, good stuff here. And then this is where I make another mistake. So gets to the outside. He kind of gets my hips off the ground, does a good job of like pushing my hips that way to like expose part of my back. And then as I'm like turning back into him, I kind of sit up. He kind of pulls me up too. And now he's got a grip on my back. He goes straight for the choke, which is good because that gets the opponent like focusing on a choke instead of hooks. And now he's got me in this position. And so he has a score now because he has the attempted guard pass. So now it's 2-1 on advantages. He's winning. I'm thinking to myself, if I go to my back, he is going to get points now. Or I turtle or I stay in this position and I give him more chance to take my back. From here, I probably should have just thrown points out the window and known like this guy wants to take my back right now. I can't let that happen. I should have just gave up the points and then got back to working my guard, like just go to my back. But in the lighter weight classes, we tend to focus a lot on like not giving up points because we move so quickly. And so a lot of the times people turtle as a reaction. Usually that's not good, but it happens a lot in the lighter weight classes. So you'll see here I'm kind of fighting his grips, fighting his seatbelt grips, but I'm also in my head like kind of making this mental math of like what I should do. And eventually I just kind of like try to peel his hand over my shoulder. I'm thinking, I'll just try to escape fully. And standing up was also an option here possibly. And as I kind of put his hand over my shoulder, I expose a gap in my side here, and that's when he gets the hooks in. Beautiful back take. Mistake he makes here though, I pull the hooks off my center line so he doesn't get points, and he blocks in the body triangle. Now, points wise, that's not a great move because you don't get points for body triangles in IBJJF. You need both hooks in. But in terms of control and wanting to keep that position, body triangle was a good move. So he's going for the choke here. I get the body triangle on the bottom side. I'm still trying to cover. He flips me back over. I try to get his body triangle back to the bottom side. I'm just like answering the phone so he doesn't get a hand through. Ref has to reset us. I hit him again with the crawl. You always want to hit him with the crawl. Don't forget the crawl. He gets reset. All right, I will say ref kind of messed up here. His body triangle was definitely under my hips here. And more trapped to the ground. He definitely did not have like free reign. I was a little upset about that, but so he switches his body triangle back. I get his body triangle back to the bottom side. And man, he's doing a good job of like constantly threatening the choke, constantly threatening the choke, which makes it really hard to like clear the body triangle at the same time. So I try to get that bottom foot here. And this is where I thought, oh my God, I'm making the greatest comeback of all time. He lets go of the body triangle to get his hooks in the middle, and he crosses his feet. The cardinal sin of like week 1 jiu-jitsu of back takes, never cross your feet, because then this happens. I figure 4 my legs, and I'm cranking on this ankle lock here. I am cranking on this, okay? Like I hipped hard into it there. I let go, hipped hard into it here. I am hipping in as hard as I can to try and get this man to tap to the ankle lock. And even after the match, his coaches were telling me like, I thought you were going to get that. I was scared whenever he accidentally did that and locked that up. But man didn't want to tap to an ankle lock. And you know what? He's a real one for that. I will say he's a real one for that. I will say it's not hard to get a tap for it, but there is like, they need to be crossed at like they need to be crossed at like and if there's a point where it's like the most efficient to get the ankle lock. If it's like a little too far over, it's not as good. If it's like shallow, it's not going to be, it's like when it's like in that perfect sweet spot is when that ankle lock works really well. And so sadly, just did not finish it. I was trying to crank on. I was trying to take advantage of his mistake. Like, look how hard I'm hipping into it right now. I'm trying. And after a few attempts of hipping into it, I give up on it because I'm like wasting energy instead of escaping, and there's a minute left. And then right here is where it all ends, right when I'm taking the hook out. And he does a great job here. I'm very impressed with this. So he's got a seatbelt grip. I take this one down, Actually, I didn't notice this before. He does a great job. So he's got the choking hand on the bottom side here right now. So he's going for that side. In this moment, I'm seeing how loose this hook is here. So I take my arm to peel it off, and that is the moment he slips in the choke on the top side, and it gets immediately under my neck. Immediately under my neck. I didn't have much time to respond at all. So he immediately locks it in, and also you can't see it. He immediately gets the. I don't know if he did palm to back of the head or if he did this. This is definitely better than this, but it doesn't. Part of it doesn't matter because he gets the hand completely behind my head, and like his head is hiding the hand, so I can't even like reach to the choke to the top side hand to peel it off, and then let go of the choke. So he did a great job locking this choke in instantly. And even though I peeled the hook off, this is a amazing way to control the back. The hip clamp. The hip clamp. This is, if you do not need 2 hooks in to control the back. You do not need it. This hip clamp is more than enough. So he does a good job transitioning off of that peeling of the hook into the hip clamp and gets the choke. I try my best to fight it for a bit, seeing if I can find a gap to get that top hand, but he gets it. I give him his props. You know, he was very happy to get the win, get that back. I know he was probably feeling after, because it was such a close match the first time, so I'm sure he was feeling pretty happy. So good for him. But we are now 1-1, so now we will have to meet again. So congrats to this guy here. Overall, it was a great day. All my other teammates competed as well. They did good. So shout out to them. Shout out to my coach. So some positive note from this one. I did still have constant forward pressure, which I do like. I do think that makes it harder for my opponent. Like, as you could see from that inside trip that I threw at the beginning, it made it really hard for him to shoot that follow-up takedown because he was kind of acting defensively toward it. So I had a good sprawl and headlock. Really happy with my sprawl. Decent back control in the beginning whenever I was on the turtle position. And he tried to roll through, and I was still with it. I was happy with that. I was happy with my guard pull. You know, whenever we also got reset there as I was trying to go for it. The guard pull was still really aggressive, and I still went straight into trying to get the sweep. So I was happy with that. But some improvement notes, same as the first match. Positional awareness on the mat of like when my opponent's trying to do some, like when he rolled off the mat and things like that. Chaining down together, takedown attempts yet again. I could have went for the single leg. Don't rush my guard attacks. I definitely threw up my guard attacks from positions that they weren't going to lock in, and he was going to have plenty of chance to escape. I was overconfident in my guard, and like just I was rushing. There was hesitation and rushing multiple times throughout this match that I didn't like. Control the arms more when I'm going for the high guard. Like really get a grip on the fabric before I start trying to sweep and stuff. Don't just try, because I really like, because in no-gi I'll like cup across both arms and like get a C grip on it, and that way I'm like kind of grabbing and pulling in both arms. But if I'm in the gi, I need to take advantage of the gi, right? Don't hesitate to move when in bad positions. Yeah, like whenever he initially started going for my back and I'm like sitting on my butt, he doesn't have hooks in. I need to make a choice in that moment, and I need to not stay there for too long. I was stayed there for way too long. He was able to get just closer and closer to my back take until I made a mistake. I should have went to my back or tried to stand up. I wouldn't even have minded a stand up thing. Because even if he tried to hop to my back, I could tripod really easily to kind of buck him off. I'm pretty decent at that. Always focus on the choke first. So that has to do with whenever he submitted me. He was still trying to choke me whenever I was peeling that hook off. I should have waited to kind of maybe have double unders, like pin both of his arms under me before, and then try to get hooks off. And then, like I said, back to the mat is better than exposing your back. That's how I feel. I know in the lighter weight classes, most guys turtle to not give up points. And sometimes that is the strategic move, especially if you're ahead in points and they're about to pass your guard and the match is almost over, then yeah, turtle. And then don't let them take your back. Like, stay just super tight. But for the most part, though, back to your mat is better than exposing your back in my experience. So those were my matches. Got the cool little bronze medal there, so it was a fun day. We'll keep going for it. We'll do better next time, and I'll have more breakdowns for y'all next time. So let me know how you think I did. Let me know what critiques you have, what you guys like about this video, what you want more out of this video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to leave a like and comment. Peace.